coffee, grab a chair. It doesn't sound very loud. We're going to go ahead and just gather. Welcome, everybody, this morning to our forum. We're continuing our Lenten series, Love God, Love Neighbor, and also exploring that question of who are our neighbors and what does it mean to be a neighbor as we seek to be faithful and follow Jesus and love and serve those around us. Today we have with us a friend from Casa Chiralagua, which is a community center in the Chiralagua neighborhood, a ministry with which we've had a growing friendship and partnership in recent years and continue to learn and grow with them. Donnie Jennings, who's here today, directs the Leadership Pipeline program, which she could say more about as questions arise, but really sees young people all the way through different stages of growing in education and leadership right up into college. And it's part of the ways that we've been working and supporting CASA as well. So without me saying more, because I want to hear lots and lots from Donnie, let us welcome Donnie Jennings.
So Casa Chiralagua, you guys probably have some idea, like Jenny was saying, we actually do have a lot of partnership with you. Whether you knew it or not, you've already supported our ministry in a lot of ways. But our mission is to develop relationships with families to see the Chiralagua neighborhood transformed by Christ. So we're very relational. It's all about friendships and relationships and investing. We work with children and family units. And so not just a student that's part of our after-school program, we work with the entire family unit that surrounds that student. And that comes up to about 60 families that we serve. So really quick, when we think about our neighbors and where we serve, where we're located, we are this yellow star, and we are located on Mount Vernon Avenue. And so Chiralagua for us is in the Arlandria neighborhood, as you might know it, is that area, from Mount Vernon to the Glebes, to South Glebe and West Glebe, and just what's in between that triangle. So there's a lot of housing, buildings there that a lot of our families live in 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. The neighborhood, if you know anything about Chiralagua, is very Central American. And so if you ever go around there and walk around during the day, you might see some fruit stands and some taco trucks, and just a lot of families. So this is where we're located physically. And, you know, as we think about our neighbors, like who do we serve, who are we with, I just wanted to describe a little bit of who we are in contact with every day. So this is actually one of our families from the program. We serve Central American families. And so 100% of the 60 families that we serve are Central American. The majority is from El Salvador, and then we have people that also come from Honduras and Guatemala. So very Central American, but also remember that each of those countries is also very unique and very different to one another. Like I said, I'm Ecuadorian, and I have culture shock all the time, even with my Central American neighbors. I'm South American, and so it's been fun getting to know them and getting to know their food and their customs, and yeah, so it's a joy working with our Central American neighbors. Immigrants. So our neighbors are immigrants. They are first generation, second generation immigrants. Chiralagua our neighborhood started back in 1980. So El Salvador had a civil war, and a lot of people fled the civil war in the 80s and somehow landed in that area. And more families came, families of the families came and kind of populated that area. And so it's called Chirilagua because there's actually a city or a little town in El Salvador called Chirilagua. So if you can say Chirilagua, let's practice it. Let's say Chirilagua. Yeah, it took me a while too, but it's great. So Chirilagua is made up of first and second generation immigrants. Like I said, some families have been there since the 80s. Some are recent arrivals, and we work with that population. This also means that some of our families have their documents in line. Some might have residency or citizenship, some might not. And so part of what we do is we actually don't ask about that. That is not a requirement or anything. And we don't keep record, like we don't really know how many of our families are documented, but it doesn't matter to us, and we still serve and work with them. But there is a range of asylum seekers, people that were abandoned, kids that came very young, kids that were born here, and then again, people that have been here since the 80s. Spanish-speaking adults, but bilingual children. The children speak English and Spanish, but the adults primarily speak Spanish. A lot of single moms, it's something that we've seen a lot, which is very interesting to us, but a lot of very active moms in the community. So they are part of our programs, they come and bring food, and they just serve with us. And so we like to say that they're also very hardworking and very family-oriented. And so knowing that about them, like family is very important. We see siblings taking care of younger siblings or cousins or neighbors. A lot of neighbor moms will, if they have to go to work, they'll knock on a door and, hey, can you keep my kid while I go run this errand? And there's that welcoming and like, yes. And so that's kind of what we know about our families. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about our philosophy of ministry. So our philosophy of ministry, when we think about neighboring, is the 5 L's. And so I hope that you are able to also take this and contextualize it to yourselves, because this is what's working for us, but I really hope that you're able to also take this and hopefully make it work for you as well. So basically, it begins with locate, and it ends with love. And it's not linear, even though sometimes it might follow that order, but it could kind of jump around. So we'll start with locate, and we'll end with love. So locate. Locate is physical location. So I talked about where we're physically located in Chirilagua, Mount Vernon, in the Glebes. So we're physically there. I physically go there every day for work. We stay there for events, and we make sure that we are physically putting ourselves in a place that maybe I wouldn't put myself if I didn't work at Casa Chirilagua. So you're physically putting yourself, or it's kind of like a risk thing of like you're exposing yourself, or you're going to a place to be able to encounter someone that maybe you wouldn't encounter on a normal basis. And we also want to be very intentional with this. And so we practice this thing called ministry of presence, which some of you may or may know, but it's really just about being. It's about sitting down and just listening and being there and not trying to bring an agenda or anything, but just going on a walk and seeing what's around and just getting to know their neighborhood. So we do this a lot. We do a lot of neighborhood walks. We just literally go out during our workday and walk around the neighborhood and see what we encounter or who do we encounter, and then that kind of allows us to get more contact with the people there. So after you physically locate, we do this thing called live, or do life together. So whatever it is for you on your normal basis to live, you try to do that with someone else. And so you invite your neighbor to also do that with you. So if you're going to go eat, because we all eat, maybe you invite them to join you in that. Or if you have to go grocery shopping, hey, do you want to go grocery shopping with me? We can go together and drive together. And so you're trying to like find ways to do something that you normally would do anyway, but invite someone to join you in that. Carpooling as well. I know it's tough, but that's also another way to get more contact and connection with our neighbors. But everybody always needs, especially the neighbors that we work with, most of them don't have cars. And so this is also a blessing to them, and it's a blessing to us to be in their presence, to be able to run an errand or help them with anything. So we also call this embracing holy moments of disruption. So at Casa Chirilagua, the door rings all the time, and I may be in a meeting, talking to someone, or I don't know, on a Zoom call or whatever, and someone comes to the door. And our first instinct sometimes is to let somebody else take it. But what we are really trying to do is that we make sure that we are the ones that take that call, that we're the ones that open the door. And if we are the ones that open the door, that we are prepared to sit with that person, however long it takes. And what we found out is that a lot of people come to the door just to say hi, or that they're lonely and they just need to talk to someone. And so it might be disruptive to me in my workday, but it actually, we find those as holy interactions, God putting people in our path in a way to kind of disrupt our day, but really it was planned all along. So we try to celebrate those things. God has a sense of humor, and it's great. Okay, so listen. I'm sorry that this got a little small. Okay. Listen, so we want to, again, pay attention to their stories. Like I said, the person that comes to the door. We actually have had a lot of people that have come, a lot of recent immigrants, recent migrants. Somehow they get connected to Casa Chirilagua. We don't do any sort of, asylum-seeking processes. We don't do immigration processes or rent assistance. But somehow they hear about us and they come to the door. And so what we get to do is just kind of resource share and connect them to other organizations that we partner with around the city. But what we want to make sure is that we're sitting down with them and we're just listening. And we hear very tragic stories, a lot of trauma, and we just sit with it. And we sit with it, we pray with them, and sometimes that feels not enough, but I sometimes think that is what they needed for that time. Maybe we were not able to physically help with their rent or whatever, but just being someone that they can come in and talk to in Spanish and tell us what they're going through is very powerful. And it's powerful to us as well. We want to make sure that we're also following their lead and not our agenda. So we're waiting for them to kind of take us where they want to take us and not trying to interrupt or interject or try to fix, which I feel like that's sometimes our modus of operandum. We want to fix and let me connect you and let me help you. But sometimes it's just sitting with someone and just listening. And then asking questions. Tell me more. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about your mom in El Salvador. Tell me more about your kids. I had a really awesome conversation, really hard conversation with a mom a few weeks ago. We were in a mom group, and I was just sitting with them. I'm not a mom, but I was just sitting with them, and they were talking about miscarriages. And so one of the moms started talking about a miscarriage that she had last year around this time. And two of the moms kind of disengaged and left, and I was sitting there with another mom. And we realized really quickly that this mom that was sharing hadn't shared with anybody that. And nobody knew that she had been pregnant the year before either. And so we sat there for 30 minutes and just listened and cried with her and sat with her. And so just listening is very powerful for us when we think about our neighbors. Learn. Okay, so learn. This is my favorite. Learn. Well, the Bible says it's better to give than to receive, right? Sometimes we want to just give and give and give and give because maybe we have resources, we have power, we are able to give more than maybe they can, right, in some areas. But sometimes we forget that they can also give. And sometimes when we don't allow them to give to us, we're robbing a blessing of them giving. And giving to them, like giving to us, could look very different. Maybe it's they bring tamales to a family dinner or a meeting, or they stop by and bring me rice pudding, or whatever it might be. They're giving, right? And if I'm like, oh, no, like, it's okay, like, you keep it, because I know that you struggle maybe getting your food. If I say that, even though my intention is, right, like I'm thinking of their well-being and like that it's hard for them to get food, I'm actually robbing the blessing of them giving to me, even though the giving doesn't look similar or the same way that it might look for me. So want to be very aware of that, of like, we can also learn from our neighbors. And sometimes we don't think we can. And a lot of it has to do with our prejudices. So sometimes we think that the people that we particularly work with, we have some families that are illiterate and can't help their kids with their homework, and maybe their education is very, very low. And sometimes we think that because I have a master's of this, or I went to this, or I have this job, or this status, or whatever, that makes me just a little bit better than this other person. Again, it's not something that we say out loud, but sometimes it's a thought that creeps in, and that can sometimes prevent how we learn or accept from someone. And so kind of like giving that to God and destroying that prejudice that just because we're able and privileged to learn, and specifically in education, but it can be in so many other things. Sometimes we have, religious prejudice, anything, education or racial prejudice and all these things, right? And so that's so super important, is to kind of check ourselves and making sure that doesn't hinder how we let others give to us and how we can learn from them. And so you can ask the question, what is one new thing I learned from this person after you talk to them? Or you can ask God, what is one thing that you're teaching me from my conversation with this person? What is one thing that you want me to learn? Recently, we had a mom who has twin girls. They're in high school. They're 17. And she also has a 9th grader. So she has 3 girls. She's a single mom of 3. And she, hardworking, she's undocumented, so she has a very hard time providing for her family. But she's the president of our mom leader group at Casa Chirilagua. Super active, amazing woman. She's known as the mayor of Chirilagua because of her influence and just how she is and kind of makes things happen. Amazing lady. Very active in her church too. And she found out that there was a family that had abandoned these twin boys, 17-year-old boys, somewhere in DC. Recent arrivals. Somehow the older brother left his younger 2 brothers and abandoned them, and it kind of came down they kind of know and heard from this person, and so she went and picked them up and picked up 2 17-year-old twin boys that don't speak any English, have about 2nd grade education, somehow came here with their older brother, and she's in the process of becoming their legal guardian, and she is taking them in, even though her situation is very difficult, and she already has twin girls and another daughter. And we just learned so much from that and so much from her, of like, she is following a call from God, and so we are now learning so much from those situations and from that and from her. And so we are coming around her. Thankfully, we've been able to get the boys, we're trying to get them into school, and we're trying to get them figure out with an attorney to help them, figure out their status, their immigration status. But and they're volunteering at Casa, so now they're volunteering with our kids program 3 days a week as part of like their service to us. So just really cool things, and we can learn a lot about our neighbors if we just take the time to sit and listen and ask questions, learn, live, join them in what they're doing. Okay, so love. Love is the last one. Again, so sorry that it's small, but love is basically when all of those 4 other L's come together. When you're listening and you're learning, you're living, you're locating yourself in those spaces. Love is just the result of this. It is relational, right? You can't just love someone without really knowing someone. I mean, you need that relationship. You need those connections. It can be practical too. We saw our friend that adopted or is in the process of adopting these boys. That is very practical, and she is. We learn a lot from that. And love can be very practical. Taking someone to the store, going on a walk with someone, calling someone. Hey, I've thought of you. I haven't talked to you in a long time. How are you? For me, it was going with a mom last week to the parent-teacher-student conferences and helping translate just for mom and the 5th grade boy. And his mentor also came, because we also have a mentorship program where 40 of our students are matched with mentors, people from the community. And his mentor came, and I came, and mom came, and we were able to show our 5th grade boy that we love him and we care for him and we want him to succeed. And he has all these people just fighting for him, and he had been struggling. And this week we got a text saying that he was thriving, that somehow he turned the corner, and teacher texted mom and said that she was so proud of him. And so that's just like evidence of like us coming around someone practically, and it was a late night for me on Thursday, but I still went to the school. I know that was hard for the mentor as well, but it's those moments that really show us and really we can see and express this kind of love. Again, we asked the question, so what did I learn about love from them? What did I learn about love from this mom that is fostering these boys? What can I learn about love from them? This is a picture of Liz. She's going like this. She's our director of adult leadership. She works with all the adults, with the parents. This is during one of our family dinners. So once a month we have family dinner where all the parents come together. We have a time with the parents. The kids go to the park, and then afterwards we have a meal together. And like I said, you guys have also already supported us, whether you knew it or not, because last month the youth of, I think it was this different Episcopal churches, but some of the youth from St. Paul's was there, and they came and they were volunteers, and they guys provided the meal and served the meal for us during that time. So that is a very practical way of service, of learning, of coming, of living among and doing. So thank you for that. All right, so these are just really quick to some of our programs, just to give you some ideas of what we're doing. We have after-school programs for children, Kids Club, Teens Club, Casa de College. So Kids Club, 1st to 5th grade elementary students, 3 days a week. We have about 36 students. Teens Club is 6th through 8th grade. They come Tuesdays and Thursdays, about 20 students. And then our Casa de College program, 9th grade through 12th grade, 20 students. And about 7 or 8 of those, I think, are seniors. And they're in the Casa de College program, which is helping them come up with a post-graduation or post-high school graduation plan to be able to get them into college or some sort of school, trade school, or something. And so we're working with them to kind of help them provide, which, by the way, you also were part of that. In the fall, you did a fundraiser, and you have been key in helping provide for that program. Mentoring, we have 40 of our students. Out of the 76 students, 40 of the students have a mentor, one-on-one, people from the community that want to be mentors. The commitment is 1 hour a week for a year. And like I said, like when I went to that school with that mentor, he had been with this little boy for the last year. Once a week, does homework, reading, takes him to a baseball game, plays soccer with him, whatever it is. It's just connection. It's just giving them another adult example, another safe adult. And particularly for our boys, having another male adult is very important for them. And adult leadership, which is our parent program. We have 60 families total. Right now, we just finished a 7-week course on adult education where parents were able to navigate like the ACPS school system, and they had to take a 7-week course on all the systems of parent, school, and parent board, and I don't know, all those systems of the school, and how to support and advocate for their students. And so that recently finished last week, and we're starting a second module next week. So a lot is going on at Casa. We have literacy programs as well. So there's a lot of programs, a lot of people, a lot of things. Those are our neighbors. Those are the families that we serve. And I just hope that you're able to see kind of how all the 5 L's kind of weave through our programs and get us from physically locating ourselves in that neighborhood to ending up with love, with relationships, to be able to see the community transformed by Christ. So, thank you.